Well, hello, viewers and readers out there of the Erudite Bibliophile with Wanderlust. My cup today overfloweth because I'm joined by not just one talented author, but two talented authors today. I'm so excited to introduce and welcome the co-authors of the new bestseller, Moments Like This. Aloha to Kris Polaha and Anna Gomez and Moaho Nui Loa. Thank you very much for sharing your afternoon with us and your Sunday. So welcome to the Bibliophile with Wanderlust.
That was well done. Thank you, Erin.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you guys here. And I kind of talked about in my review that Maui is really famous for its Road to Hana. It's that breathtakingly beautiful, like veritable treasure trove day full of wonders. And I propose that you guys have created a Grand Moments tour for Oahu, based on your characters, Andy and Warren's weekly Friday sightseeing moments tours that kind of highlighted all the best that the island has to offer, from body surfing to running rocks to sunset beach luau dinners and shave ice afternoons. So I'm curious if the Oahu and Hawaii Tourism Department, if they don't jump on this or commission Hang Lee to like design a map or create a brochure filled with all these destinations, that would be like a hugely missed opportunity. So I'm just curious, is there any talks even close to something in that direction or considerations or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
But I mean, with that, it would be perfect because especially because you're going to do one on each island. And so that could be made for each island. So that, yeah, I hope they commission her because her art, like there was that signature floral design on each chapter title. Did she do that as well?
No, that was someone else. That was actually our formatter, Dorothy.
Oh, that was beautiful too, because it accompanied each chapter title.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like, I don't know why, but chapter titles have kind of gone by the wayside or not the norm anymore. And I like them. And I didn't know, was that a helpful co-authoring tool to you guys? Because I know you were like handing off chapters and, co-editing. And so I didn't know if that helped. I know you called it chapter tennis, the way you would hand back the chapters back and forth. So I didn't know if that helped having those titles as a tool with going back and forth.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
Definitely did. Yeah. Yeah.
And then can you talk a little bit about, you guys put so many like special and unique, thoughtful touches into the design of this series. And so I was hoping you guys could talk a little bit about your brilliant design idea and design process you have of the books, the cover and spine art, how when they all come out together, like they're hand in hand, when you put them on the shelf next to each other, are going to create this like surprise visual. So I was hoping you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Kris, are you okay? Like you're breaking up. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So I'm in Canada right now on another quarantine, which is how we wrote the first book. I was on quarantine in the UK, but I had much better Wi-Fi in the UK than I do here for some reason. So, yeah, I think we actually, Anna and I had a book cover to start with. There was already a cover for the book early on in the process, and it was of two lovers on a beach, and there was a flower in the foreground, and you could see kind of the sand and the water and it was just dark. It was a dark cover. It was beautiful, and the photographer did a great job. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but it was just every time I looked at it, I was like, that doesn't feel to me like a place I want to visit. And so Anna and I started talking, and she was like, you know what? I've never really my dog isn't in that fight yet because it's so early. I don't even know we hadn't even written the book yet. Like we had a cover before we had a book. And as Anna and I started talking, we both kind of came up with this idea that wouldn't it be fun to create something that was beautiful to hold, that when you held the book physically, it felt good, it looked good, so that if it was on your coffee table or on your bookshelf or on your bedside stand, it would just, even by looking at it, would transport you a little bit. And then we had the idea of like, well, what if since we're doing a series, if you put them on your bookshelf, then why don't we have like a little design? So we have this surprise that as the books come out, it's going to start creating this image on the side of the books. And then each one, we hope, will evoke a personal memory. So, we went with the boards and the sand and the sort of which in my mind is the side of the coffee shop.
Right.
And you kind of felt like that was like in your mind, that's kind of where you had that. So what we're seeing is like a piece of the coffee shop and a piece of their life. And so the book is taking us physically, literally into their world. And it's been a real joy, actually, a part of the creative process to come up with. Anna had a great idea of using my haikus at the beginning of each part. And so I don't know what we're going to do for the second book. I don't know if we'll do haikus. I have an idea that I was going to run by Anna later. But there's fun in breaking the book up so that it becomes like in and of itself a little journey and an adventure. And we just wanted whoever picks up the book, we wanted them to take the time to just transport themselves for a minute. And I think with a love story and with this idea of a moment story, it's funny. And I was watching a little TV last night, winding down, and there was a DoorDash commercial, and it's new. I mean, it's a brand new commercial. Like I hadn't seen it yet. And it was talking about you can order your meals. This is not an advertisement for DoorDash. This is moments like this.
Although you might get a sponsorship after this, but no.
Showing how, quickly you could take care of your dinner and how they'll bring your box of food or whatever. And then it panned to the refrigerator and it said, and give you more time for moments like this. And I was like,
you're like, let's just sneak that in all the advertisements.
That's right. And so it's just fun how that idea, that title, which was Anna's. I mean, I'll give you credit for that, Anna. I came to the table, and that title had already been laid down, and it's amazing how it shaped the story. It's amazing how it's shaping and having an impact on book 2 already. This idea of taking advantage of the moment and living in the moment. And I think that's what we wanted the book to actually be. It was like a moment for you. You pick it up, you read it, it'll take you places. You'll look at it, it'll be beautiful. So yeah, a lot of thought went into it.
And it's, you're putting your own special stamp because it's not just like every other book. Like you said, it's got these haikus interspersed throughout, the interchanging, cover design when you stack the books together. So it's got, like you said, all these special touches that kind of distinguish it as well. And you kind of started to talk about like the coffee shop. That was kind of my next question. Vicariously through your characters, we learn kind of the behind the scenes workings of a coffee plantation, learning how our favorite morning beverage goes from berry to bean to cup. So I was kind of curious because, Hawaii's famous for so many products from, the pineapples to the sugar cane to the macadamia nuts to the coffee. How did you land on coffee as this like central theme that kind of weaves the characters together? And more importantly, are you ever going to look at your cup of Morning Joe the same again?
Anna, does Bill get a little credit for this one?
Yeah. I don't know. It just came up really. We were trying to find something that was really specific or a nuance to Hawaii. And there was a lot of things that we could have written about, but it was very interesting to actually learn about, something that we all know. Whenever we go to Hawaii, there's all these like, coffee plant tourist places where you buy coffee and all that. And I just thought it would be an interesting thing. And, good thing Kris bought the idea. But yeah, I mean, yeah, well, again, there's going to be a variety of things as we move from island to island. We're gonna be looking at what's actually specific to the islands, right? So in the next island, it might not be coffee that's front and center. But for this one, it was just a fun thing, and I wanted to portray Andy as a business person, and I wanted to find a business that she could involve herself in. And I don't, when I started the book, as Kris said, in my head, I had that coffee shop. I actually found a coffee shop right off the highway in the actual book in Oahu. And I just I just kind of like fixated on it. And it just grew in my head. And then when Kris came along, we talked about it and he was okay with the idea. So.
Well, and as they say, like life imitates art. In your case, your art's imitating life. You're taking your real life experiences and channeling them into your book.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I would say, like, Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kris.
Well, I would just say for the Moments tour, I lived on Oahu while filming North Shore, and a lot of those things were either locations I filmed at physically, or like the rock running was like an actual event that happened to me. Every Saturday I would go run rocks with Brian. So they were real experiences. So I was drawing from, which was a lot of fun to be able to go back and relive all those in my head.
And yeah, I definitely want to like get on YouTube later and look up the whole actual running rocks, because that was one of my favorite parts, because it was so unique and I hadn't like heard it before, that I was like, that just was a unique experience that I wasn't familiar with. And so it definitely put, like you said, the unique Oahu touch on it. And I would say too, even though this would be, I know they categorize books and genres, and they kind of have to do that. I would say too that you kind of stepped out of the box when it came to like the romance lit genre too. Like I felt like you carved your own path and kind of put your own spin on it, because it's a multicultural romance. And, it celebrates diversity in cultures and in relationships. And then it's a book written by male and female. So it's bringing in both perspectives, which isn't common to have like a male author with woman's lit. And so that I thought deepened the authenticity of the book as well by having both male and female perspectives. And so I didn't know, were there any other touches or any other things that you intentionally wrote to kind of, break out of that kind of typical romance lit format, or kind of, shatter kind of that cookie cutter template that kind of usually exists with that genre?
It's an awesome observation of the book. Thank you for that, Erin.
Yeah.
Really, that was the things that people have noticed, having a male perspective. I also think it's cool. Anna is Filipino, and I think there's a huge rich Filipino heritage on the islands of Hawaii. But when you get to Hawaii, everything kind of gets washed into the island culture. And so to be able to talk about how the Filipino community can, in the early 1900s, which we're actually going to, dig into further as we get through the series, but about how the fabric of the world is made by all types of different groups of people. And when you think, well, Hawaii is this for this reason, well, it's this because of the Filipinos that came in the 1900s, because of the Japanese and the Americans and the islanders themselves. And so it's cool to be able to talk about that and to write about that. And it's been interesting working with Anna. She and I agree. It's kind of a cool little team because she brings to the table her experience and her perspective, and I get to bring to the table my perspective and my experience, and we get to marry those on the page. And it's a pretty cool, it gives us a pretty wide berth to work in.
I didn't know, Kris, you might have to move a little bit. For some reason, you're freezing a lot. I don't know if moving will help. I don't know if it will.
Did you catch that, or did you not?
We can hear everything. Just every now and then it freezes. But we can hear everything you're saying.
Okay. Audio/video.
Yeah, he's breaking up.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll help to move around, but Anna, do you want to speak anything about kind of the Filipino heritage that you bring to the book?
Yeah, when Kris and I started, Kris and I have been doing this for a year now, and but when we first started writing together, I started the book and he came into the picture a few chapters in, and I had already written about, I was already naming Filipino foods and putting the Philippine Christmas Eve tradition in there and everything. And I in retrospect, I didn't even check with him. I just sent him what I had written, and he sent it back, loving everything and approving everything, and didn't say anything to me about, hey, you put this in there, you put that in there. It just like passed his test, the whole thing. So I thought, okay, then he's okay with that, because we really didn't talk about how embedded we would be in the different cultures. We knew that we wanted to do the purely Hawaii culture. But then in researching coffee and researching people and researching everything, and every time, when I was a kid going to Hawaii for vacation and whatnot, I mean, it was like a huge Filipino community. So I just thought, you know what, I would put that in.
Yeah.
And he was fine with that. So and then it just blossomed because he had lived there too, and he had actual real experiences there for over a year. So I think it was really, I mean, we talk about it now, it's like it was really just a good pairing. I think we both had the same vision. And it's really just, I mean, I'm still grateful and surprised about how well the book has done.
Yeah. And then kind of in the beginning of the book, Andy, the main character, suffers from career burnout and kind of suffers a loss of relationship, a loss of health because of that. And, both of you guys have so many irons in the fire with your careers. You're both spouses. You both have multiple children. So I didn't know, what are some of your guys' favorite ways to alleviate stress or to kind of promote a more healthy work-life balance and kind of, live in the present and appreciate the moments, like what your books, focuses on?
Yeah, well, before Kris answers that, I just want to tell you, we're cleaning out our storage, and I was going through pictures today, and I found this one picture, Kris, of me in the hospital asleep that my husband had taken like 3 years ago. I had like tubes connected to me, and I was just like fast asleep. And that's how I started the story. I started the story that way because that happened to me. I burnt out. So
Wow.
I was in the hospital for no reason. We didn't know what was wrong with me, and I was there for 10 days. And I remember I got flowers, I got everything. I was on the cancer floor. They thought I had cancer, and everything was going on. And I remember I have this one mentor who's like the executive vice president of our legal firm and legal team. And she called me, and she's like very blunt. And she said to me, if anything happens to you, they'll mourn you for 3 days and then they'll move on. She said, so you have to stop.
Right.
You have to stop prioritizing your work,
right,
your health. And I think that's kind of like the message that I wanted to put into the book. And then
kind of saying like, they'll do it, you're doing it for them, but they're not going to do it for you.
Yeah. Or you anything happens to you, they'll find someone else.
Yeah.
Replaceable. Yeah. So that's how I started the book, because that had just happened, and then I was just thinking about it, and then and I guess, I mean, I think Kris is better at work-life balance. I don't know. I mean, I'm learning, but it's still a process for me.
What about you, Kris?
I just don't have to go anywhere. Well, I just don't have to go anywhere because work and stay home, and I can do both throughout the day. The pandemic for us because my home, they just Zoom, and so we were all just in the house together. So when Anna and I started this project, I could just wake up in the morning and write for a few hours, and then my kids would get up, and then I would go on with my day, and then I auditioned for something, and that takes up hours. And then it's hard when I work. Like right now, I'm on quarantine, so I'm just in a room in Vancouver, Canada, for 15 days by myself. Then I'm going to shoot a film for 3 weeks, and then I get to go home again. So my work to let family, how I balance things, is very different because mine's very different. But I mean, one of the things that's been a great sort of creative release and joy has been writing this book with Anna. Like it's given me focus and direction, and it's been such a treat. And to see the reception of the book, and to see, I really I didn't know what to expect. I mean, Anna was like, yeah, maybe we'll sell 1,000 copies or 2,000. I mean, I don't know what she thought. The expectation, didn't have any expectations. And then so all of a sudden to see that like 10,000 copies later, like we're selling a lot of books. And I mean, it's a really wonderful feeling to be able to be at the helm of something that people are enjoying, that they're buying and reading. And we're getting stuff constantly from Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. There was a woman from Belgium who just got her book, 2 days ago. She's like, I just got it, I'm reading it. So that to have something that's evergreen and that's constantly new to people, like Wonder Woman came out in December. Now it's already on VOD, and so you can buy it, and but there's a shelf life for film, and there's a shelf life for television. The movie releases, it does its thing, and then it kind of goes away. Whereas a book, people are going to just keep finding the series. 10 years from now, hopefully 20 years from now, people will continue to be able to pick up these books and we'll bring these characters back to life every time they read them, and that's really special.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I did kind of really, really, really prepare Kris, like on the
just in case
worst case scenario side.
Better to under promise and over deliver, right?
Well, yeah. Did you ever hear of starving artists? That's us.
Yes. Well, just be prepared. And I was like, really? Okay, whatever.
Well, too, Anna, you can probably speak with, I feel like the word of mouth community is so strong with readers too, that like a lot of times books will just build and build and build, and then they might pop up on the bestseller list like way after they were released, just from just this fervor that will build, or word of mouth, book clubs, things like that too. So
yeah, and we feel that way. I think what we're seeing is it's just the groundswell will be more when we do the second book, because then people will want to read the first book. People who haven't heard of us or whatever will want to read the first book and then get the second book. And then people who have already read the first book are so excited for the second book. And we didn't expect the reaction, I think, that people had to the characters themselves. You write these characters, and the best compliment Kris and I have had is that people are still talking about them. I mean, you just joined the Butterflies, you just went in the Moments group. I mean, every day there's something that they find in the book that like we've released a month ago. So it's amazing, really.
And how therapeutic has it been for you guys, like during the pandemic, when, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, when there was such a limited ability to travel? And I know both of you are very, used to traveling all the time, and, you physically couldn't go to, an exotic, distant locale. How therapeutic during this whole thing has it been to write about, in a setting that's, so beautiful, so majestic, the waves, the sand, Hawaii? Like, how did that help with kind of escape from reality and during the midst of all this?
Kris?
I mean, it was huge. We're writing book 2 right now, and I just wrote a chapter, or I'm in the middle of writing a chapter with our new characters, our new heroes and heroine, and I physically transported myself like to this place in this moment, and I could hear the waves crashing, and I could hear I was just in my mind seeing this thing. And so that's deeply pleasurable, to like, when your mind's eye kind of explodes open and you're not seeing words and you're just literally describing what you're seeing in your head as you type. I mean, it's a magical thing. I think, though, the best thing that's come of this whole experience, though, is a totally unexpected friendship with Anna. I mean, I never in a million years thought that, like, at 43 years old, in the middle of a pandemic, or at the top of a pandemic, I was going to be asked to join an adventure to write a series of books. And I'm so glad I said yes. So glad and grateful that she asked me. And I've had a lot of creative collaborations where it's sticky and where it feels like you're walking on eggshells, and you're like, oh, I don't want to. And you get on the phone and it's like a burden, and it really is like a means to an end. And I think the wonderful gift of our collaboration is that it has genuinely been just this really free, easy. It's become a friendship, and we get on and we get off and we talk about what we got to talk about, and we always start with a little like, how are you? Check in. Okay, good. This is what we got to talk about. And Anna is so focused and organized, and she'll make her lists and she'll go down and get stuff done. Whereas I'm like, I can't sign into Skype. What? What? So, like, really good mix of and so it's fun that it's working as well as it's working, and it's fun to see the reward of that pay off with just a fervent readership. And so it just feels like a blessing is what it feels like.
It is. It does. I agree with that. last night we were like voice texting each other, like it was midnight here and it was 10 o'clock there, and my husband just like nonchalantly just walking around getting a drink, going to get ice, and then Chris is on the phone like I'm listening to what he's saying, and the Bill's just like, I mean, it's just such, I think it's funny, Chris, I'm gonna have withdrawals when we reach the fifth book, because it's like an everyday thing, but I think it's necessary in the sense that you're constantly creating something, um, despite the fact that your life is going on around you. You know, like he'll have his son's birthdays and his family things, and I have my family things, and we'll disengage for that. But then your mind is constantly going, and you're constantly having these scenes in your head. And you know, in answer to the question, it's exactly what saved us, I think, during the pandemic. I mean, we wanted to feel useful, and busy and productive, you know, and I think this was the best way to go. It really was a blessing. So,
well, and it's almost like you said, become your new norm, that you can't imagine, like, wait, there was a time when I wasn't doing this with Kris on the daily, you know. Yeah. It's becoming like your new normal or whatnot.
yeah.
Well, and I know that's kind of come up in a lot of interviews, is, you know, people speculating like how seamless the partnership is, and like what's the secret and how do you do it? But like kind of what you mentioned before, I feel like you guys both have placed such high value and share such value of family and community, like we talked about a second ago with Anna's group with the Brave Butterflies, and with Kris's group, the Polaha Chautauqua. You guys have such large, unique communities of support behind you. And then too, like, I feel like you guys are both so open. You have such, you know, a strong work ethic, sharp wit and humor. Like, Anna, you've already done it today, but you've done it in multiple interviews. It cracks me up every time. You'll like laugh and say, Kris, I've never told you this before, but and like lay something on like every time, like, oh, by the way, I didn't tell you before, but
yeah, it's funny. It sounds bad because it sounds like I assume Kris knows everything, but that's because we talk so often.
And then, but I feel like with Anna, like your experience as like a multi-book author, and then Kris's experience with like film and media, you kind of meet each other in the middle in this unique, equally yoked situation that is like makes a perfectly balanced pair to create something like this, to create this book to film project, because it marries your two, you know, strong points and experiences. And maybe Anna's like kind of leading more now when it's in the book phase, and then Kris will pick it up a little, you know, bring his experience when it's at the film stage, and you're both constantly kind of balancing each other out, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we get calls now. We get calls about, you know, the script for the books and what we want to do and what our plans are. And I just say, I don't know, go call Kris.
You refer that way.
Good to him. I'll say this, it'll be fun we could tell you all about what it was like writing Moments, but it'll be fun to come back and talk to you about what it's like writing Sunrises, because it's been a very different experience. Where Anna, I think, was able to just kind of run and gun with Moments. Were two very separate storylines. There was Andy's world and everything that she was doing at the coffee plantation, and then there was this Moments tour and this relationship thing, and so it was easy. And in fact, Anna, she said, just write chapters and we'll figure out a way. So she constructed that book very systematically and methodically. But like, and I was just go off and I'd write a chapter and I'd send it to her and I'd write another, kind of free from what Andy was doing at the plantation. With what we're doing now, it's really genuinely been a very different and brand new kind of collaboration. And I feel like Anna is this thoroughbred, and I put a bit in her mouth. I'm like, hold on, wait for me. Just don't wait for me. I need a week. I'll be free in a week. But for example,
both such highly competitive, serious people that when I go ahead, he says, can you slow down? And then when he goes ahead, I go to my husband. I'm like, Kris, just threw a chapter in there. I can finish this today.
You're like, scrap the plans. I'm at the computer tonight.
No, because we both want Yeah, it's like we both want our part in this thing, and it's fun, and it's like it's a really healthy, yeah, it's just, again, it's a lot of fun. So Where the Sun Rises, which I'm curious to see how the readers will go from moments like this to Where the Sun Rises, because we get to see who we've been watching all along, but then we're going to follow new people, and it goes deeper. It goes a lot deeper, and it goes a lot less. And I'm excited to share the story with people. I read it this weekend because, again, I'm quarantined. I have nothing but time, and so I went through and read the entire book that we've written so far, as we move towards finishing it, which will be, like, honestly, we're near the finish line, and it's just a really wonderful story. But again, a totally different version of our collaboration. It's taken longer. There's been a lot more stop and go, and waiting for each other, and because our chapters are dependent on each other. So I have to know what she's writing in order for me to be able to keep writing. And so it really is, like, we've been talking about this idea of chapter tennis, and it truly has been like, here's my chapter, and then she goes and she gets me one, and then I get to respond to that. And so it's these writing prompts that we give each other, and we're really limited to each other's pace, but it's been a fun new experience.
Yeah, but the problem, he's in quarantine, he's not doing anything but writing. I've got chores around the house. I went and fed the dog yesterday, and he threw a chapter in there while I was doing that.
So is it like a one-to-one situation? Like, is it like he writes one, you write one, he writes one, you write one? Or is it a couple and then a couple? Like, what's the ratio of the chapter tennis going back and forth?
It's been one-to-one, but at Christmas time, you busted out like 3 chapters in a row. I was like, man, she's got like 3. And then I have a little section where I made a run. But it really has been, like, again, I think we should talk about the parts in the book, Anna, because I think that we can add a part 2 sooner than, so it might be 4 parts, but where the parts go is this first chunk has been back and forth, and then we're about to go off and do solo writing, and so then it's going to be each part will be authored separately, but it's really been a shared community effort. It's been a lot of fun.
You're starting to break up again. I don't know if you want to try to move around the room. It's starting to break up again.
I don't have a router, so it's not like I have like.
So it is what it is. Probably.
Just this whole room. They're bringing me, like, I've complained. I was threatening to move out, and they're bringing me something. But
you're like, I'm on
so
a book
sorry.
Promotion tour here.
It's gonna. Let's see. Is this better?
You're frozen, but we can hear the audio. So we'll just pretend that we're audio linking you in. But I was gonna say, when we were talking about the one-to-one chapters and whatnot, what percentage would you say you guys are, like, you said you're almost done. Are you saying like 75%, 80%? Like, where were you thinking percent-wise?
I think we're 80-ish.
So do you think it's still November for that release date?
Or it's not November. No, it's Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's
Valentine's next year. Yeah. And I mean, we would have it sooner if we can, but the publisher needs a whole runway of like 8 months or something to get everything done, just like Moments was.
Right.
So
that's perfect though, like Valentine's weekend. Well, and I was going to say, we've all heard about the infamous meet cute moment where Kris and you Zoomed in order to see if possibly his company, Podunk Productions, could help turn your books. You've had written 6 previous books, to see if he could turn any of those books into films. And then lucky for us, that morphed into this beautiful co-authorship partnership that became From Kona with Love, with a 5-book series. But I was curious, like, since they didn't fit into that Hallmark format, is it still on the table? Is it still in the works that some of these books could still be turned into film, but maybe like for like a network streaming studio instead of like Hallmark? Is that still a possibility? Or
Kris?
I
Again,
I think it is. Yeah, we have so much bandwidth, and I think that we just. I mean, I personally like all of the focus went on to moments in Kona, and it can be a hurt ask to. We have to find a screenwriter. We have to start. I mean, it's a big process, but Anna's books under Christine Bray are so beautiful, and they deserve film treatment. And I know that she's got interest in one of her books, I believe, currently being shopped around. And so, yeah, at some point, I would love to help her do that. But right now, all my energy are focused on moments like this and trying to just create this little universe, which, yeah. But you never know. Like,
I would be happy with just moments, just hitting the big screen at some point. I mean, we've put so much.
Right. Well, would you tell kind of the viewers who are familiar with your previous published works, which book right now, like he was saying that one of them might still maybe possibly be optioned for film. Which one might that be, in case they want to go snag that one too, and while they're waiting for book 2?
Oh, it's In This Life.
In this, yep, that's very. I love that one. So, speaking of like the famous meet cute moment, what are we gonna do for Javier, Anna's friend and Chris's neighbor, for starting the meet cute that started it all? Is he getting like a movie cameo? Are we naming a character after him? Like, what are we doing for Javier?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
He got a book. I gave him a book.
Yeah.
Like, does he get a character named after him? Does he get a film cameo? Because I'm like, thank you, Javier. Like, cheers to Javier for setting this meet cute up, because that we all benefit from, right?
It's really true. Yeah.
Well, and I was gonna say,
oh man, my connection.
I was gonna say that that this has been kind of. Say that again. Go ahead, Anna.
It wasn't me. It was you.
Oh, I was going to say, this has been kind of a start of many firsts, not only co-authoring a book, but then Kris, you narrated the audiobook. So I didn't know if you could kind of take a peek behind the curtain of what kind of it was like to narrate an audiobook. I imagine that was a first for you too.
It was a first. Yeah. And it was fun. I mean, it took me 4 days. I was able to do about 10 chapters a day. So about, I guess, a week. And it's an amazing way to edit your book, to hear it out loud. You go, oh, I can see how this all fit together, or if something bombs or whatever. And I was pleased at the end of it to realize we'd written something pretty good.
Do you guys ever, when you're writing your chapters, do you ever read it out loud? Like, has that made you more conscious once you did the audiobook narration of how it would maybe sound on like the audiobook version later? Is that something that you ever do?
Yeah. I mean, as I was reading it this weekend, I read the first probably 10 chapters out loud to myself, because I just wanted to hear them, like, in a row and to see how they fit together. And yeah. So I started that.
Together. You did tell me. Did it fit together?
They fit together. Yeah. They fit together.
So how did that work, reading, like when you had to read dialogue for the women?
Yeah.
You just
so weird. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm describing Warren. Yeah. And I'm like, well, and so you'll hear like a little softness in my voice, and I tried to do the best job I could without like commenting on it and without being like, but it was fun. Like, I'm reading Andy. Like, all of a sudden I'm an actor. I can be Andy. And then, and I kind of tried to give like the different characters like a little different attitude. So like, but just slight. It's not a performance. It's reading. So I tried to do moments where I was talking about how perfect Warren's abs were, and I was like, oh, you're gonna go with it.
Well, I liked the fact that you narrated it, because a lot of times with audiobooks, normally they're only narrated by the author if they're, I mean, this isn't a hard fast rule, but most of the time it has to be like more of a memoir or something like that. Whereas like if it's a fictional book, most of the times they have other people narrate. So, and I always wonder, I'm like, why don't more authors narrate their own books? We want to hear them reading it or hear them, you know, presenting their work. So that was kind of a nice add-on that doesn't usually, you know, kind of get to happen. And I didn't know, if it was kind of the start of mini first, because, you know, I assume that, you know, this could be the start of you starring in a film based on a book that you wrote from a screenplay that you wrote. Because I mean, I'm going to bet a cool million we know who Warren is at this point. So, so I didn't, you know, what is that going to be like to be like, okay, I'm starring in this film of the book that I wrote from the screenplay that I wrote from.
I think we're going to give the screenplay to somebody else, but yeah, the idea is to take property from the page to the screen. And yeah, as long, I mean, if it takes too long, I'll end up playing the dad.
Hey, do not say that. You're like my age. Come on now. So Anna, did you have any like people on the short list or people you picture in your head when you think of Andy? I mean, if we're thinking, you know, there's Warren right there. Who have you been kind of thinking of for or picturing in your head for Andy?
We've talked about a few actresses here in the States, but I would really love to get someone who was, you know, half Filipino or half Asian or something like that. So no names yet. I mean, I'm not really familiar with that
right.
side. So I'll leave that to Kris too. But yeah, I would love to have someone, you know, different.
Kris, have you pictured anybody or thought of anybody?
Well, I mean, we're so far away from that particular juncture that I think it'd be unfair to start listing.
True.
I mean, I know a lot of amazing women who are you know, Asian or half Asian who would be amazing, who would crush it. I've worked with several. I know several that I would love to work with, and I think that would do an incredible job. But it's funny that when the money shows up and the script is written and we hire a casting director, everything changes suddenly, and you start to cobble together this cast, and it's surprising what happens when you get closer and closer. But we're so far away from that right now, unfortunately. Yeah. But you never know. In a blink of an eye, next year we could be having a totally different conversation. So
that's true. And we kind of alluded a little bit earlier, you know, you guys in the last couple of weeks have kind of left a trail of clues as to some things that are coming in book 2. We just talked about the publication date, which will be Valentine's weekend. We know the title, you released it, When the Sun Rises. And then we got to find out recently that it centers around the couple Adam and Maylee. And I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Is it Maylee?
Yeah.
Okay. Maylee. Because I haven't heard the audiobook yet. So Maylee. So is there anything else you can tell us besides that it's Valentine's weekend, Adam and Maylee on Kauai, when the sun rises? Anything else?
Where the sun rises.
Where the sun rises. Where the sun rises. Anything else besides that?
Did you say it's on Kauai? Did you know that? Did you say?
Yep.
Okay.
I think Kris has already said it. It's a lot deeper. It's gonna be it's a little bit different from moments.
Oh, cool. That'll be very cool.
Well, people were all feeling really, you know, it was a really bad year for us last year for everybody. Right. So this was a feel-good book, moments like this. Now that we're kind of getting out of that, we're bringing a little bit more emotion into this story. I mean, it's only because we've developed the characters. They're more complicated, I guess. It's a good word
because
to use.
You've met them, you've created this, you know, universe that you said you've already kind of introduced these characters. You don't have to spend as much time on like you said, developing the character, introducing them. Now you can like just dig right in to the meat of, you know, kind of the storyline.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, because you guys have been like so clear on the path of this book and the storyline, and you'd already nailed down so many details with like the matrix and the universe that you've created, you know, and for my experience as a reader, you know, I felt like that it kind of created a whole new experience for readers who read series, because you were releasing all that information, because you've been so clear on the storyline, you've already created the universe, you know where your books are going. It kind of has ended some of that like cliffhanging suspense, that like waiting tension. But on the other hand, it's still built like fun anticipation and excitement and whatnot. And I just thought that it just felt like a different experience, you know, when reading a series, because we're not, you know, nail biting. Let's see in the next 2 to 3 years what's gonna, you know, happen and whatnot. So I didn't know if, you know, was that intentional too?
I think I can speak to this one in terms of being just an experienced reader. I used to be a blogger. I used to read books, 10 books a week or something. And just knowing how readers are, how promiscuous they are. I mean, you love one author now and then the next you're fawning over another author. It's hard to keep people's attentions with the series. So what we've made clear is that every book is a standalone. Every book touches on a different island. There's always an ending. We can take that ending and continue it in book 5, 4, 5. Sorry, not past 5, but 3, 4, 5, whatever. But everyone gets their ending, and everyone can read. You can interchange the books, you know, right. So they don't have to be in a specific order. We'd love it for it to be in that order, but you know, and that way people don't have to wait, because I know I wait for the series to be done before I read everything. I wait for a series to be done on TV before I watch everything. That's, you know, which by the way, there's a Mystery 101 marathon today.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was like, perfect timing. If you didn't get enough Kris Polaha today, there's a Mystery 101 marathon today.
I just want to watch it so I can tease him later.
Well, and I was going to say, you can catch Kris not only on the Mystery 101 marathon today, but he does a Polaha Chautauqua every Sunday evening on his Instagram, that you can catch him there. And you can also catch Anna on her Instagram at Anna Gomez Books, and then on Facebook at under her pen name, Christine with a C, Bray, Brae. So you can always catch her there. And then I just was going to do one more quick question so that we can kind of wrap this up. I just wanted to say to Kris, your son Caleb shares your musical talent. And so I noticed that he was able to create some lyrics in the book for Where the Hands Move, and create the music for the book trailer. And so I didn't know if there were future music opportunities that might come up for him composing in like the books and the films. And
yeah, absolutely. In fact, I snuck another one of his songs into book 2.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's actually, we're taking him to Nashville this summer because he's written during the pandemic. I mean, this is a totally different, you know, interview, and it's his interview. It's not my story, but he, during the pandemic, wrote about 13 songs.
Oh, wow.
And it came out of a place of grief. He'd lost his grandfather 2 years before. And I just think the pandemic brought all those feelings up again. And his way to reach out and to find hope and to share the love that he has in his heart was to create music. And the songs are gorgeous. I mean, I'm his dad, but like we played them for people outside of the family, and the response is always the same. And so we're going to chase that tiger and see if we can catch it by the tail. So we're going to, so he's going to have his whole other little journey, which has nothing to do with me. I'm just grateful that he lets me. I'm like, can I use this here? And he's like, yeah, that's fine, Dad. And he was really played the guitar for the video, and he would love to do that again. And yeah, it's just such an opportunity for him, and we're so grateful for it. It's an awesome opportunity for Caleb, and yeah, would love to keep using him.
Well, and he co-wrote the Polaha Chautauqua theme song with you, correct?
He wrote all of the verses. I just did the little thing about it's better when we do it together, but all is. I just came up with a little guitar riff that was, you know, it's like 3 chords. And I said, dude, I need a song and this is what I need. And he sat down and we were again in the hotel in Vancouver, right? Like same place, in November. And he just jammed out these beautiful verses about, you know, it's okay, you're not alone. and then helped me write the chorus, and then we were off to the races. So he wrote the lion's share of that song. He's very gifted.
It's an absolutely perfect song. It to me has such like a Jason Mraz type feel, because it's so like the same kind of message, like we're better together, like in like what you guys were saying with your books, with the our diversity only makes us stronger, you know.
It's stronger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing. I wanted like a Woody Guthrie vibe at the top of it. I wanted some kind of folksy, you know, like where people are hurting right now. I mean, you look at the news and it's so divisive. I mean, I was just watching CNN and there was a call towards, I mean, like armed militia from the news. And then you turn it on to Fox and it's how everything is, you know, how we're being lied to all the time. And it gets so dark so fast. And you see it play out in Minneapolis, and you see it play out at the FedEx building, and you see people are really, really hurting, and we are confused. And I think we've all been, you know, hit on the head by our media and by the stuff that we're ingesting. And for a long time, I've been a proponent of, you know, as important as what you put into your body physically. If you just eat McDonald's all the time, you're going to get sick. You're going to get diabetes. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to die. If you just put junk into your brain all the time through your television, your music, your films, your books, your thoughts are just going to get corrupted. And so I think what Anna and I set out to do was to create this wholesome romance, this literature that people can read and not feel, you know, like, but still feel excited and still feel what it feels like to fall in love. And we're trying to elevate these moments, you know, we're trying to elevate our like, we're trying to drop little pearls of wisdom inside these books. And that's what I've been trying to do my whole career. Like when I make a movie I love being a part of Hallmark for that reason, because it's a moment for people to relax and just let go and drop their guard down and feel safe again. And I think that's what we need right now in the world is safety. And I think our book, I will add this in lieu of that. Our book, Where the Sun Rises, is about redemption and is this beautiful idea of full circle and healing. And so it's going to be a really, I hope, powerful book that people enjoy. Yeah, to that end, right? Making it to trying to just help us get through the world. You know, we have one.
Bringing your own piece of positivity to the pie, like you said, to bring your own part into making the world better, you know.
Yeah, and making sure our kids see
right
beauty of life and how, you know, they're bored. The generation now is born in a world where we didn't have any of this before, and there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of, you know, stress. And it's our job as parents to, you know, show them a world that it was before, and, you know, make sure that they're taken care of and safe. So, you know, everything we do impacts them.
Very true. Well, I know we need to kind of wrap it up, but I'm gonna just regret it if I don't ask this, Kris. Could you sing a little bit of the Polaha Chautauqua song?
Polaha. Where is it? I have it. Where is my Polaha Chautauqua song?
So beautiful. It's absolutely perfect. And like you said, especially we were just talking, me and Anna, when the call started. Actually in Indianapolis. So such a
you're right.
And to hear something like that, I think.
Yeah.
For everyone here in Indy.
Yeah. So, Anna, do you mind me singing at the end of this interview? That's so ridiculous. But it goes like this.
It's so
life. So life can be scary and sometimes hard. Seems like you got a winning hand until you dealt the wrong card. It ain't fair, but you're not alone. Down and out or high and dry, in the darkest valley or the coldest night, you're fine. And you're not alone. With a song bubbling in your heart, where a story can give you a brand new start. You don't have to tackle this big bad world all on your own. 'Cause it's better when we do it together.
Yeah.
That's the first.
And that's for India, everybody out there. So on that note, everybody either tune into Polaha or Mystery 101 tonight, or jump over to Anna's page, get on that Braised Butterflies group and Moments Like This group to stay up to date on everything that's about to come with Where the Sun Rises. And I'm had an absolute blast with you guys today. Once again, I thank you so much for joining us on the Erudite Bibliophile with Wanderlust. And I hope to talk to you later this year when book 2 comes out. So as we say in Hawaii, ahiho until we meet again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Bye.